Welcome to Biggest Geek Us. We're your hosts. I'm Randy.
And I'm Joe.
This is episode 133 of our show. The date is Tuesday, April 4th, 2023. 23. What's shaking, bacon?
Not much. Welcome, everybody.
Yeah.
Got several people already here.
We do. We got some of the few, the proud. What are they called, Joe? It's not the streamers. They're called chatters.
The chatters.
Is that going to be your name? The chatters.
This is 1, 2, 3 work days. No, 2. Yeah, 3 work days where I'm not on the overtime list. So I was still fairly tired over the weekend, but now I think I'm starting to not be as tired.
Yeah, I got my iron pumped. I pumped some iron on Monday. Felt good. I'm going to skip a day and because we're busy with meetings late in the afternoon tomorrow, and then work out Thursday. I'm hoping to ride my bike this weekend. That'll be fun. Can't wait.
Yeah.
We'll get a good crowd. Hungry Ewok, Larry Elliott, Legion of Myth, Lady One. Earlier, we got Patrick Martinson, Ironman, Green Apple. Said he finished the show. The Crafting Gamer. That's cool. Did I say Darth? Yeah, Darth's in the house. Did I miss anybody?
Did you say Crafting Gamer is here?
The Crafting Gamer, I saw him. He said hello. He might have just ducked.
Oh, there he is. There he is.
Yeah.
There he is.
Yeah. So we got a good crowd already.
Good deal.
They want to hear all about the coolness. So did you get any good gaming in this past week, brother?
No, I got a lot of frustrating computer stuff happening over the weekend. I mean, right after last show, we started getting the site going, but had a lot of bumps. Still have a lot of bumps. I'm not really sure exactly. We have some intermittent errors. People are unable to upload. So I think I've tracked down one issue that I have to probably talk to the not our devs, but because they're not going to be able to do anything about it. I think I may have to contact tech support at the host, which is annoying.
Boo. Boo. That is not good.
Essentially, everybody who's uploaded anything since the 1st of April, which is hilarious, those files aren't visible.
What?
Yeah. For some reason.
Pause. Cool name alert. Hyperborean Heretic. Hello.
Ooh.
Very cool name. Like that.
Very much so. Yeah. So we have some issues with the site. I hope people bear with us and have at least one irate person. Yep. Can't help that.
Yep. So I got the game this week. Had a heck of a time. Played really long, Joe. Played over 6 hours on Saturday. Straight through, brother.
You didn't have to take a nap?
No, you would think I would have to after all. I'm one of the ancient of days. So you would think I would be dead, but no, it was awesome. We played Warp Shell and we had a great time. Didn't finish the adventure. That's for next week. So very cool. Much fun was had. Thanks to Ben, your DM. Very good
deal. Did you play earlier in the day or later in the day?
Yeah, we started about 11, finished up around 6.
That's why you could go that far.
Correct. And at Cabin Con, we're going to be starting at 6 a.m. and playing. That'll be even easier.
You'll be playing by yourself.
True. But I'll have early fun.
I mean, when we get there, like not that first day, but the next day, there are some froggy people who get up early. But 6?
I know. 6. I'll probably be awake by 6:37. Probably guaranteed.
First day.
Probably every day. Oh, yeah. Maybe not Saturday because Friday night we're up pretty late. But let's wait because we got some guests are going to be on. They're going to want to know all about Cabin Con.
Yes. So, So we have two guests on today. We have DM Blackwall and Nathan Lindy, both of Hero Wars. So I'm going to bring them in right now.
Horde Wars.
Oh, Horde Wars. Sorry.
Why don't you bring them in?
We'll fix it in post.
Fix it in post. Hey guys,
how's it going?
I'll tell you what. When I first started listening to podcasts, I can't tell you how many times I heard somebody say, "We'll fix it in post," and you're like, "If you did, we wouldn't be hearing this." And I know there was a video, a YouTube show where the guy would sit there, he would goof, and he would say, "Fix it in post," like that, and repeatedly throughout the episode. And you're like, you didn't do anything. So it's kind of a joke.
Yep, the good old days.
There looks like Legion is saying you sound like you're going through a
Let me check.
bad headset.
Let me check.
I don't know. I think it sounds fine, but could be that Max just starts stuff. Anyway, welcome guys, DM Blackwall and Nathan Lindy. So you want to tell us?
Does that sound better? Hold on.
That sounds a lot. Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm sure Legion feels the same. Just his feelings and my
default,
similar.
whatever default is.
Yeah,
I'll call it Randy. We'll say Randy.
Randy's his default.
Yeah.
Oh, anyway, you guys want to tell us a little bit about yourselves here in your game? Because you have already. We've had you on once before, but how close are you guys now? Are you closer than ever?
Yeah, for the basic version of our game, we should have that out sometime in September. I'm hoping by the 1st of September.
Oh.
To have that
layout and art and
Yeah.
Who needs art?
starving artists.
Well, also the full version of our game, which we're hoping to release a year after, that should include like an additional 100 pieces of artwork and then the rules for higher level play.
Very nice.
Oh, okay. So the rules that are going to come out then are up to what level? 10th?
That would be up to 12th level, and then
12th.
the basic would just be the first 4 levels.
Yep. Right, 12.
Sorry, guys. If you listen to our show, I interrupt Joe constantly because what he says is not that important. But basically, we say.
Randy, I think you got muted.
Yeah, I think you got muted. Yes.
I'm muted, Randy. They'll teach him. They'll teach him.
Yes. We are going to be offering Horde Wars at Cabicon because we are going to be there for the first time.
Yeah, baby.
Yay!
You know what? I need to plunk down some dough for an animation, so that when I do that, like a bandage goes across Randy's mouth, and that would be awesome to pull off.
For those that don't know, the quick synopsis for Horde Wars is a D12 high fantasy system that greatly improves speed at the table and makes it so you have those epic encounters and you can do multiple in a session instead of, one encounter taking 2 or 3 sessions in a 4-hour block.
Yeah. 3.x and Pathfinder were bad for that. Even though we had a great time.
Yep.
So what's your gaming bona fides? When did you guys let's start with Nathan. When did you get into this wonderful hobby of ours and what did you play mainly?
Actually, I was always a teetotaler. I was always around with the older boys that I knew, and they always ended this. And then finally, I got to work one day, and there's man we now call Blackwall. Hey, you play D&D? And I said, sure. And that kind of started it off. So it probably was about 17, 18 years ago.
Oh, wow. Very cool.
And then since then, I went off for college a bit and then started doing Pathfinder Society. I was a venture officer doing games and everything there. So makes it so. Yeah, I actually had a mind control person in Society, and they said never bring it back to the table. Yeah, but I think in one year I did like 300 sessions or something strange.
Wow.
I had to kind of read and all that, and then came back.
Playing or DMing or both?
DMing.
Whoa.
Some playing, but and then came back, got back with the group, and then we started playing things, and then this idea came along, and so
cool. How about
So
you?
kind of developed out of house rules.
Yeah.
House rules.
Yeah.
Yeah. Is it something you were you changing things in your, I guess you were in the middle of third edition when the Horde Wars idea was coming to you?
No, it was for fifth edition, and it's actually because
Oh.
I wrote a rules hack that let us run superheroes and run sci-fi very cleanly, very quickly with fifth edition.
Oh, okay.
And like it was probably the base document to make it function was probably, I don't know what, Nate, 20 pages?
Maybe 20 pages. And
Yeah.
the thing is, when you say fifth ed, we meant we were like level 20 characters.
Oh, okay.
Like
Yeah,
operating.
Yeah. And there's a few little hacks to make that game a lot more difficult. Both for monsters and for players, but that's not important. Anyway, there were a couple of things that Nate and I were both dissatisfied with fifth edition D&D, and that we also had problems with like third edition and older ones, and so we decided to make our own game. But I learned on second edition.
Okay.
And then I've played a bunch of different RPGs, but most heavily some West End Games D6 stuff, D&D third edition into 3.5 pretty heavily. In fifth edition, I would say those are the stuff I've played the most of in terms of hours or numbers of campaigns.
Yeah. A couple of weeks ago, we had a episode where we were talking about some alternates to D&D, and Star Wars D6 came up big in the chat. So you probably have a lot of folks out there would agree that Star Wars is good. Green Apple says Open D6. Is that the generic version of Star Wars D6? Oh, sorry.
Yeah, but it's got some issues because the Open D6 license is in some doubt because there's a dispute between, basically there's an ownership question between the guy who wrote it and the company that theoretically owned it, and whether or not he was allowed to write an open version of the same rules.
Well, okay.
So it's just some dumb legal battle.
And it's kind of it's mostly dumb in my opinion because there's some echo going on.
Yep.
There's a ruling saying that you can't copyright game rules. So of course that can always be challenged. So
Right.
if someone with big enough pockets wants to take out someone who's maybe doesn't have that big pockets, it may not matter what that one judge ruled. So
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know anything about that case with Open D6. I'm just saying in general, if someone has a rule set that they put out, someone can yoink parts of it as long as it's presented in a way that isn't it won't confuse, it won't be brand confusing.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's interesting because I think only a few designers probably could even afford to tie things up in court that way, whether or not, to have to hammer out whether it's, can't copyright rules, but can copyright the expression of the rules. Yeah. But I mean, that was the fear of OGL, right? That WotC would actually start suing people. Tim Scott, you are speaking heresy. I cannot believe that. Tim Scott, I actually like Open D6 over Savage Worlds, to be honest. Will you quit being honest? There's no room for honesty on this podcast.
And the D6 system is good.
Is it? Yeah. I've not played much of it, so I really have no opinion.
So it being called D6 means is it just primarily D6s or all D6s that you use for things?
I think there's versions I play differently, but mostly it's all D6s.
You roll handfuls like in the old Shadowrun where you roll handfuls of D6s and stuff? Okay.
And like doing your stats, it would be basically this skill is so many D6 and you roll them and sort of go against the number rather than number of successes.
Gotcha.
Right.
All right.
Well, shall we get into the main topic? Because we didn't bring these two just so you just could admire them for their amazing gaming background and aptitude, though you should buy Horde Wars as soon as it comes out. And we are hoping it'll be on Big Geek Emporium. I think we're going to have that, I hope. And
then we can get files on.
Yeah, right. When I'm done, it'll be on there. And we're going to talk more about that a little bit later on with the Cabin Con moment. But we want to start with an idea about minis versus terrains. How do we title that, Joe? Toys or no toys?
Toys or no toys.
Yeah.
In D&D, it applies to all of our tabletop exploits. So essentially, what are the advantages of having them? So toys as in minis. So minis and then maps and terrain. I think we can handle them separately because some people use one or the other, sometimes both.
Versus a theater of the mind approach where there's nothing.
Right.
Oh, hold on before we leave. There's a question. The Hyperborean Heretic says, Kickstarter for Horde Wars.
We may do one for the advanced game, and that's basically because that we're going to need to make up some costs for printing. It'll cost us probably about 20 to 25,000 to do the print run.
Gotcha.
Whereas the PDF has significantly lower overhead.
Gotcha. Okay.
But if we do that, our goal is to raise the money to have the print run for the first 1,000 done before we would run a Kickstarter, so that we'd be able to fulfill the Kickstarter immediately.
Yep. Gotcha.
That's good.
Cool. All right. So where do you want to begin, Joe?
Well, I guess we'll start talking about the advantages of minis and terrain.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll start right below me here with Nathan.
Okay. So the game store I was a part of for a while was a big 40K group. So they initially were the big toys and all the terrain and all the miniatures and all the painting. And I kind of got in through War Machine Hordes. And then we did bring that to the tabletop. And I remember once when I was running events for the Pathfinder Society, the RPG day one year was a Egyptian temple, so to speak. And Jordan Forge just came out with their new set, and they went ahead and got it. And they're like, can you build the map? And we actually were able to make the entire free RPG adventure site with the tiles.
Wow.
And it took forever. That's
to make
people
it or
really
to play
enjoyed it. Yep, to play. It was just, we didn't plan that ahead of time. It was just could we do it? And the answer is we could.
Yeah, Nathan, I've done that at my home game. Joe knows I have some Heroscape tiles and a few other like paper type terrain things, and I built them up for certain scenes. I've even had my minis set out when there was going to be a massive battle, and that's pretty cool. But even for me, there was some time investment just getting that stuff set up, and that's what you got to ask yourself: how much is it worth?
Yep. And of course, in that fandom area for the wargaming, it's all about can you paint your own minis and create them and mod them.
Mm-hmm.
And so, like, some people just don't have the time. Like, give me that character mini and go with it.
Yeah. So, are you saying like you think it's an advantage that you can display some really cool stuff with terrain and minis? Yeah.
Yes. I mean, it's that wow factor. And it's going. It makes you feel like I'm part of that. This is our adventure. This is our story. This is our movie.
Right. Gotcha.
Okie dokie. What about Mr. Blackwall there?
Well, I think that miniatures have advantages for tactical play. It's far easier to understand your position compared to opponents or various pieces of terrain if you can see it. It's definitely harder to do tactical play in theater of the mind. Still doable, but harder.
Mm-hmm.
And then I also think, the display factor, it can be really nice. We have had a few players over the years take pictures of some of the terrain stuff we've set up for specific games. But what I've found, at least with the disassemblable stuff, is I just figure out a way to make a good modular piece out of it and then basically sticky tack it together that way. So I can just pull it out as one board and use it.
Mm-hmm.
And then maybe once every 2 or 3 years, I'll disassemble one of those boards and build some new ones. And that seems to help save time while also giving us the ability to have like big display pieces. Like right now I have a 2.5D city built that's like basically the size of a dining room table, but it's not sitting on the table, but I can pull it out in like, I don't know what, Nate, a minute.
Yeah.
It's a 2D, so it's a map.
But it's 2.5D, so it's 2D, but I have 3D elements I can physically set on it.
Okay, so you have
better terrain.
If you had a somewhat sort of building like this, right, that had one right turn, you could put two little piece or one piece that covers that.
So for example, for the city map, I have a gatehouse that's sitting up on top of my bookshelf right now, and I can literally just grab that 3D model and stick it right in. And the way that the 2-dimensional map is made, the 3-dimensional gatehouse just fits right in.
Right. So you have it drawn. You have it drawn on your map, or maybe you just know where it is. Right? Is that what you're saying?
Right.
Okay. Cool. Yeah. For me, that's nice that you can pull it out quick, but all those things have to be stored. So I think on the other side of that advantage,
we are talking advantages here. So you're getting ahead.
Don't diss it. Don't diss it. Well, Tim Scott.
Not yet. We'll get there.
Yep.
Joe's got it figured out. Tim Scott says this: I spent hundreds on one mini, therefore you will fight it, and it'll be on the table.
Yes. I think that's the hallmark of any true gamer. At some point, they have that $100 mini, and you're like, it's on the table.
Yeah.
So,
do you have some advantages you want to add?
They talked about tactics. I think that's what I would say. It's valuable. I think it's visually pleasing. We talked about that. I think there's a game within the game, though. So that adds, like we used to talk about in 3.5 and Pathfinder, there was the mini game of building your character, which was truly separate from the actual game itself. It could be. And I think there's a mini game of painting miniatures and building the terrain. So if you really enjoy that, then minis are awesome sauce.
Yeah, I think so. I don't know that I have anything really to add. There are
one thing I would say was minis is sometimes it helps that player go, I don't have the idea in my head, but I want to be that.
Sure. So, that was something I always like to add is some people want to say that it interferes with creativity, but I think visual aids can help get your creativity going. Can be inspirational or aspirational. I don't know why anybody thinks that they get in the way.
Well, I have a reason I won't go into it. Our buddy Philip, he actually writes adventures by looking at his mini collection. He looks at 2 or 3 minis and goes, "Oh wow, he would be a great antagonist. That would be a great monster to fight. And it would fit perfect." And I can imagine him doing this, And so he's very visual at how he starts his own, writing his own adventures.
Yeah, I consider these things tools in the player's toolbox.
Yeah. Arnman says this. He's wondering, the VTT could be considered a toy if you're using all the fancy effects. What is that? Something Grounds? Not fantasy. Is Fantasy Grounds the one that's real fancy and does the Fog of War and all the cool?
Well, there's a couple that do Fog of War, but Fantasy Grounds is one of them. Yeah.
And it does cost money for sure. But I think it can be a cool toy, or D&D's new one, which I don't know whether that's going to be cool or not. It looked pretty good. What I saw, it looked decent enough. I don't care to play online that way, but it looks pretty cool.
There's a lot of folks who like it, so.
And it gives and here's another advantage. If you have a collector mentality and you have space and you don't mind, you got something to collect. I mean, you can buy lots of cool minis, and there's always something more to buy or to look for, and window shop for or actually shop for.
Well, we were looking at go ahead, Dion Blackwall.
Well, I was just going to say with regard to the virtual tabletop, one thing that I don't like, but it relates to something I like with miniatures, is on the virtual tabletop, I don't like having to spend so much time micromanaging that aspect of the game if I'm running it. But one of the advantages to using miniatures is that you can actually have your players assist in managing them. You can have your players move the monsters, for example, which you just can't do functionally with a virtual tabletop.
David Guile in the house.
Welcome.
Patrick made a comment which was kind of interesting. Well, not interesting. I think it's connected to the visually pleasing. He says he loves the spectacle. And it can be that, the way you described, Nathan, the way you guys set up that whole adventure, the whole dungeon, the whole setup, that's the whole module, if you will. That's pretty cool. That's a neat thing to see. I know the first time I went to Gen Con and I went to the Warhammer room where they were doing all the Warhammer battles, I spent an hour just like going, whoa, wow, ooh. That was years ago, but I was very impressed.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, especially when you make your army, exact colors you want to be, and it's your pen, it's like, that's amazing.
Yeah. But Patrick Demo also says he's biased. He likes minis and terrain all the way, not because it's required, but because he's a fancy biatch. I think that's what that is. That's what that is.
Yeah.
We have plenty of friends that do print their own minis in terrain.
Yeah, I want to at some point have a 3D printer for various reasons. One of them is to help, have some neat things at the game table. So we've been lauding some of this stuff. Mm-hmm. How about disadvantages? We'll start with Randy.
Oh, I got a bunch of them. No, I'm just kidding. I have boatloads of miniatures, so it's hard for me to say this, but it's very expensive. I put I think thousands of dollars in my collection. Hey, T-shirt, what's up? I think that expense can be now that I'm older, it's funny that I find myself not that I'm not enamored, but sometimes I like hearkening back to just a piece of paper, sit down on the couch and play. There's something cool about that with dice. But I think the expense can be a drawback. A lot of people don't want to spend that kind of cash.
DM Blackwall, what do you think about the disadvantages of these things?
Well, Theater of the Mind's main disadvantage, like I said, is it's more difficult to have tactical play. And occasionally, I mean, you basically, if you're going to run games that way, you have to err on the side of the players because you kind of have to assume that their characters aren't idiots. Because sometimes the player will say something that because they just didn't understand what you said. And you have to be willing to go, oh yeah, your character isn't stupid enough to just walk off a cliff because you described your action wrong.
I have a question.
Well, we were talking about disadvantages of the minis and terrain, though.
Well, sorry, I figured it was for both things. As far as it relates to minis, pricing, is definitely one. Although there are ways to mitigate that. One is bulk purchases of defunct games. Another is, of course, making the purchase as a group. Have everyone throw in $20 and get like a brick of pre-painted minis instead of just having one person do all the collecting.
Right. And Nathan, what do you think about what would you consider some disadvantages for these toys?
So back to my campaigns and stuff and Pathfinder. Because of the organized play, they had very specific, hey, you need these maps for this adventure. And so it becomes, you need to get them all. And going to the company would, hey, we have this new miniature line. We need to make some adventures that actually showcase them. And so then you have to get that, and then you have to get that. And you feel like, I mean, it's the money, but then you have to store it, like was referenced before. Mm-hmm. And then you get the paralysis where you're going, I need that perfect one, and I know I have it. Where is it? And it's taking the time to go get it.
Yeah,
but
right. So there is a kind of keeping up with the Joneses thing with this. I've got to have a big collection because I know my pals have a big collection. So I don't want to appear weak to my friends. So I have to do all the stuff that they do, except, me, I almost got caught up in that, but then being poor at the time was a really good limiter.
Yeah.
So I wasn't. Sometimes I was like, oh, I wish I could do that, but I couldn't. So I kind of forced myself into I don't need to have $5,000 worth of miniatures to play D&D. A few are cool.
I think is interesting, and I don't know if Nathan was leading toward that. Pathfinder had the habit and has the habit of creating a mini line for each adventure path. So if you're an adventure path player, the minis come out and you're like, oh, I need a miniature for Lord Farquaad.
Yeah.
I need a miniature for the great demon below the temple. And you get in that stuck. And I think David Giles said earlier that some people get really worked up about the exact miniature for the right thing.
So David Giles says something. I think this is maybe a contradiction in terms.
Yeah.
Biggest Geekus, I was lucky. None of my friends bought minis at all or books. They just mooched off of me. I think he's being a little facetious there. I'm not sure how lucky that really is. It's lucky for them.
Yeah. I mean, we tried to do as much as possible the reverse. Like, my play group has probably given away or sold at an incredibly steep discount half the miniatures we've ever collected, and that's to help other guys get miniatures going for their own groups.
Gotcha.
You know? So sell it to them for like $1, when if they had to buy it themselves, it'd be like $3 or $4.
David Grill also says the disadvantage of minis in terrain is his 3-year-old who loves to grab and mess with them. And I will say my cats knock him off the table. And importantly, unfortunately, she's deaf. So it's hard to explain why she needs to stop.
Well, the good thing, with cats, you can stick them in a closet.
Yeah. You can't stick a 3-year-old in a closet.
Well, you can, but you might get arrested.
That'd be pretty
at
mean.
some point.
That'd be pretty
our gaming groups and who we're normally with, they have children now, and that's becoming more of a big thing lately.
Yeah.
Got to touch all the things.
Yeah. Most of the kids of our players are becoming getting old enough where they're playing. So
all right. So are we feeling okay about this? Normally we don't do this kind of round robin strict kind of thing. Normally we just all talk over each other.
I think we have to do this with 4 of us. Get everybody a chance to talk. So it's good, Joe. Good idea.
Okay. So, Theater of the Mind. So, DM Blackwall, what would you consider advantages for Theater of the Mind? And do you consider one or the other better? I will add that too. As far as having the toys or Theater of the Mind, one better than the other?
Right now, I'm running, I want to say 3 weekly games. Well, one's like every 2 out of every 3 weeks or so. Anyway, as far as those go, I'm running about half Theater of the Mind, half not. With the exception of the online only game, which is all Theater of the Mind. Every once in a while, I'm showing them like a map or a specific image, but that's like 95% Theater of the Mind.
I can imagine the advantage to that for online. You don't have to fiddle with anything.
Oh, exactly. Yeah. That's like I actually, for online play, vastly prefer Theater of the Mind compared to like having to manage a virtual tabletop, because that's just a bunch of extra work with relatively little payout.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, Nathan, what do you think? Advantages, and
So
do you think one is preferable over the other?
I think Theater of Mind ultimately gets to improv, because no one actually has the full image in their heads. It's a shared experience. And so there's times when there's a big miscommunication, like, yeah, your character is about ready to walk off a cliff. Why would I do that? Instances. Or why was I in the fireball range? Because that's the only way you could be there. But it also allows people to go, we're in a bar, right? There's a chair near me, right? Yeah. Okay, I'm going to pick it up and use that to club the guy.
Right.
Whereas on a set piece, 3D terrain, that might not be as available, or you have to spend so much money to get every single little detail part. Or like on a map, you can look at it and go, is it really there? Now, most maps are detailed enough that they would have things like that. Like, here's the pickaxe for the abandoned mine. Okay. It's right there. But in Theater of Mind, you can basically get straight to the action. You don't have to sit there and set out minis and go, hey, do this. And you can basically get to the good part. And then everyone else feels like they're part of the story more, rather than I'm playing this cinematic universe, which maybe the tiles and miniatures would get you. And so for me, I think I like the Theater of Mind better, personally. But I think it very much depends on your play group and how well they can handle that.
That makes sense.
Agree.
Do you have anything to add, Randy?
Well, I would just say I think it does make players pay attention more. I want to bring up Legion of Mist comment. And this is, he goes, I disagree that Theater of the Mind is difficult in tactical play. Mass combat, I can see that, but not tactical play. I don't know, but it definitely makes you focus. I played a Theater of the Mind game of 3rd edition at Gen Con. I forgot who the guy was. He wrote a Dragon Magazine article, an adventure, and it was really good. And he described things in great detail because we were all stuck in that 5-foot step movement, 30 feet away, 20 feet away. I think the biggest thing is it requires more attention. And I like when the players are all engaged, even if it's a cheap trick. But look, you have no minis to look at. You can't be distracted by the cool pictures. You have to focus on what's going on. That's just me, though. May not be a perfect advantage.
Yeah. So I think with Theater of the Mind, what can make it work is if we all allow it to be a little fuzzy. Because I don't care what anybody says, nobody can keep a perfect accounting of everybody's position in combat. Not perfect. General.
Right.
About and kind of over here, but nothing very precise. And that's probably all it's good for. And it should probably works for just about everybody who does it. So as long as we're all going to concede that and not pretend that you can keep track of multiple combatants, precise locations on a multi-round combat, then and then the players don't get hung up on where exactly they are. Right. Then Theater of Mind will work really well.
I mean, we used to joke a lot about fireball formation because we would be Theater of the Mind. We had minis back in the old days when we played AD&D and before that. And I would be like, so you're going to the scene's about to happen with the dragon. So were you guys all here? And I would place all the minis together and they go, no fireball formation. So they would move out of the way. But I think it's fine. Martinson's there's a couple of comments on what they don't like about Theater of the Mind. Go ahead, Joe.
I was just going to highlight this one. Legion says he doesn't like precise in an RPG. Well, a lot of people do.
Yep.
A lot of people. There's lots of folks who do. So
I'll lean a little toward him. If I had my preference, I would.
Yeah, me too. You got to be fuzzy because if you get too precise on things, you're going to have more arguments and going to get.
You can, yeah.
You're going to get butthurt more often.
One other thing that occurred to me, if you were teaching someone a new system, it's probably easier with miniatures and terrain so that they can focus on learning the rules.
Right.
Possibly.
Yeah, I get that.
I don't know. Maybe. I almost feel like, again, my biggest reference to it, because I remember pre-3rd edition, there were miniatures. I never played with anybody until the very end of 2nd that did really anything with miniatures in terms of you're moving them around during combat.
Well, then, for me, even then, we'd sometimes actually use dice to represent our positions relative to one another. For clarity.
Yes.
Yeah.
But it wasn't super precision though, right?
No. Just like in general, how are you, where are you relative to this monster, or where are these monsters relative to you? Can you possibly protect the wizard?
Yeah. And I know that, like, the reason I'm kind of disagreeing is I would say a game like 3rd edition, and I mean 3rd 3.5 Pathfinder, is not the ideal beginner game for someone that's new to the hobby. I think there's too many rules that are on the table.
Oh, yeah.
And rules that are in the for the character and in the play. But I would prefer something really simple like OSE or even Old Basic, just to kind of throw them into the idea. But I mean, there are players. I don't know who's it. Mr. DM Connell. He says he needs the minis to be able to really focus. It's interesting that he says that.
Well, that's the thing. Everybody's different, right?
Mm-hmm.
There are tendencies. You have some people who need the minis in their mind. What I don't like is when I see these posts on Twitter or watch YouTube videos and someone will say, I like minis. And then someone will say, you don't need minis. The person who says that needs to shut up. I mean, really, because they don't like, or don't want to focus on minis, doesn't mean it's bad or that they should evangelize that to others.
No.
And that might not be what they're meaning precisely, but that's how it's coming across. So just let people play the way they play.
I think also what you're dealing with there is a difference in learning styles and also just what people enjoy. Some people want the tactile feel of miniatures. Some people want to have some kind of visual medium, and other people are just quite content to talk it out. You know,
and miniatures have been with gaming since wargaming.
Yeah,
that's where this all started with, and it's something that people like. And it makes the game more enjoyable to them. For me, either or. They don't interfere. They're interesting to look at, and sometimes they help in visualizing things during a combat. But some people are very dogmatic, just like all the things that people will say about rules as written.
Mm-hmm.
You must play raw. If you're not playing raw, you're not playing D&D. Or whatever game, which is dumb, and they should shut up.
Martin says his only problem with Theater of the Mind is when the DM gives way too much detail and does not get on with the adventure. Yeah, I mean, sometimes that's just a DM running off the mouth, and Joe knows I can have that disease sometimes. I can catch myself being exposition man, and that's not any good. So
yeah, but we can all, with Theater of the Mind, I think we can all be a little guilty of. We read novels. We watch movies where everything becomes super slow-mo, so you can see everything that's going on, and in the space of what could be just a half of a second in that slow-mo thing, impossible things happen. Unless it's Superman or the Flash, you're not going to be able to do a whole lot of stuff in those slow-mo things, but we think we can in D&D. So, speak a soliloquy. And you can say no or stop or hold up or something like that. But having whole conversations during a 6-second round isn't happening.
Right.
Or visualizing something in a room, getting enough detail to say, oh, what is that? Well, you saw it for like a millisecond. You don't know.
I also think there's something to say for kind of combining the two methods. Basically using minis is more relative position, or I think the best case I've seen was in the superhero campaign that Blackwall ran. I was one of the players, and we had a very large cast of players that would come in for different sessions for that particular campaign. And this one was basically the big drawn out fight where basically Justice League versus League of Villains. And to make it so it was like covering the city, we had like quadrants, and essentially you could walk between quadrants is basically your movement, and then inside there it was nebulous, but at least saw you where would you have an impact, what can you actually target, what could you actually fight.
That makes a lot of sense with supers.
It was pretty nuts. It was like 15 players, I think.
Yeah.
Well, I've listened to on Legion of Myth, which all of you should be subscribed to. When they had the Palladium folks on there, Kevin Sambita was saying he used to DM some absurd number of people. Was it like 30? Something like that? It was double digits.
Yeah, no, it was crazy.
I'm like, how can you? It would be broken down into groups, and people would be all over the place, and then at the culmination would be they would be all fighting a godling or something, incredibly powerful, which no players should be playing.
That's exactly what we did. We did basically an invitational campaign where we had some people come in from out of state even, and it was we did the entire campaign in 2 weeks. I ran game like 15 hours a day. And it was, I think it was either 2 6-hour sessions or maybe 2 7-hour sessions that I would do each day. And then people could come and play in a certain number of sessions for the campaign. And then everyone was invited to the final one.
That's cool, man.
With that, the logistics of that, with trying to haul out terrain and minis and stuff like that, I think you would probably have to do heavy theater of the mind, and then some, perhaps some sort of physical representation if everybody was involved at one time. But yeah,
I did about half and half. Yeah.
I was going to say you could easily have the whole city set up and then not be moving stuff all the time. Just say, okay, we're going to first quadrant, we're going to second quadrant, and bounce around. That would be manageable. I wanted to talk about Legion of Myth made a comment a while back. I think it was DM Blackwall. He said, he see that's backward to me. The idea of, he goes, I want the players to think about, and this is where I sort of agree. I'm kind of with him. I want the players to think about RP and what their characters are doing. As a GM, I worry about the rules, except that part. Honestly, I worry about adjudicating the rules, but I want players to know their character rules. I do. I want them to know their characters.
I completely agree. If you don't know what your character can do and you're not like just brand new to playing, you're being lazy.
Yeah.
Like you should know how your own character functions unless you are brand new to playing the game.
Yeah.
Right.
And Patty had a comment a while back too. I'm sorry that because it just interests me.
Yeah, sure.
The only theater of the mind disadvantage I've ever come across was and we've mentioned this, misunderstanding of ranges and placement, but you can easily do both, a melding of theater of the mind and minis. I stress that to the players. I think that brings up the whole point of imprecision, right? If you got a bunch of players that need to know exactly how far things are, and by that I mean they want the board, the chessboard part of the game, which sometimes that's a drawback to minis.
Yeah.
They want it to match what they think is going on in their head, or they need it to match for fun. I would much rather it be we lay it out for relative spacing, and then let's go with it and not get caught up on every 2 inches and 3 inches and 4 feet.
Yep. I think there's something said for like, say, hey, this ability is this short range or long range. And that gives a general idea, and everyone can agree to what that is. And then you have more not fluff rules, but more crunch rules later if you need it. But
Legion's clarifying he's probably clarifying what I messed up. He said, I said about beginning players, that was mentioned. A character can try anything. Rules that get in the way of that are bad rules to be ignored. Maybe. Maybe.
Okay, yeah. I need to have an example of a rule that can get in the way. I can understand how players can let rules get in the way by fussing about them and whatnot, but a good set of players will say, hey, doesn't it work that way? And then the DM makes a ruling right there, and you just go. And it might be right, might be wrong. Who cares?
Maybe I'm wrong, but I think maybe what Legion of Myth is talking about isn't that any character could try to cast a fireball. I think that he's more getting at that anyone could use skills to attempt to solve a problem in a creative way.
Oh, sure.
Hopefully you saw some examples of that in the examples of play sidebars and that test information I sent you guys.
Yeah.
Where we're like, hey, there's like 3 or 4 different ways. Here's just examples. There could be more to try to get past this obstacle or this problem.
Right.
Yeah. So if he means that, I agree. There should be multiple solutions that could be tried.
And I think you need to let players can try anything as well. Let them try it. They may fail, demonstrably. But I think one of the things that I get that I don't want new players to do is to grab their character sheet and think, well, I have +4 to climb, but I don't have any bonus to jump. I'm not going to try to jump anywhere.
Yep.
I think they're limited by what it says on their character sheet. And
right, especially if it's any kind of jumping. right?
Yes.
If it's a 50-foot jump,
Correct.
right? Some people are going to be better at that than others. Not many, but some. But if it's jumping across some typical, like a 10-foot leap or even 8, everybody should try that.
Yeah.
I don't have +4. Oh, but you need to get over there. So you
Yeah.
need to try to jump or figure out some way to get over there without falling on your head.
Yep. Play the character, not the sheet. Yep.
Yeah, I agree.
I don't know. I hear that and I kind of understand, but your character sheet does describe your character, so that it is, they're kind of the same thing.
But don't be limited by what it says on there.
Correct.
You try.
And Heretic, to answer your question, I scheduled my vacation for that 2 or 3 week span that we did that campaign.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Heretic asked, how in the world did you have that time? Here it was. I know which one you're talking about, DM Blackwall. 2 7-hour sessions. Holy crap. Where do you get that energy?
I was called to get energy drinks more than once.
Yeah,
did you put them in an IV bag?
Yeah.
There was coffee involved too.
Yeah.
I got not laid off, but I had a lot of free time at the same time.
Yeah.
And so I was at many of them as well. So I felt it and tried to help what I could.
Yeah. I know some folks don't like this. I think Legion said he didn't, but Bruce at Dick's Division says you can make templates for area of effect spells and breath weapons. I love seeing the players get happy or discouraged. The battle maps with grids make it too video gamey. He likes to draw his stuff on just regular paper, I believe. On paper, yeah. That's not bad. Well, and you have more freedom too, especially with caves and stuff.
Yeah, I go back and forth on grids, whether I want grids or gridless, square or hex. Yeah. And I mostly prefer non-grid. Use a ruler or piece of string or something like that you already know. Maybe you have marks on it, whatever. And there's the whole thing about spell templates and having very precise descriptions in the books about how big of an area your spell covers.
Yeah.
And I've gotten into a discussion about, maybe it's better. Maybe it would be better if the spells were more vague. Like the target is a few nearby people, kind of like 13th Age does, or you can say you can make it vague, but I don't know how much utility that you would get out of that.
Now, I want to ask a question. I'm going to start with Joe. If I said, Joe, because you're going to run a game, and whatever game, are you going to do Theater of the Mind? Are you going to do minis, or you got a different thing in mind? Joe's
probably going to be a mix.
Okay.
It's going to be a mix. I think small battles will be Theater of the Mind, bigger ones. Even the smaller ones, I might have maybe relative positioning, but won't worry about moving them around a whole lot.
Mm-hmm.
Larger battles are going to have to be more tactically intense. You're going to need, or I'm going to need a grid, or at least some representation, physical representation, because I'm just not going to try to keep track of it.
Gotcha.
I don't see the advantage in me trying to do that and then also do the other things that a DM needs to do when running a battle.
Gotcha. How about you?
I don't really get the advantage.
How about you?
How much lead time do I have? I hate to say that. Comes back. Said, how much lead time do I have?
How much lead time? Yeah.
Lead
But you said sleep.
Let's say
and sleep.
Roughly a perfect world. So you have time to prep your game, however you like to prep it. How would you like to run your game?
I think if it was going to be combat heavy, I would prep with terrain and minis. If it's going to be an RP heavy game, I'd probably do more Theater of the Mind.
So it depends.
So I very much depends on what is the game and what is the genre.
So that could that even fluctuate within a campaign though? Because
Yes.
a session is going to be heavy RP. You're like, I don't need minis and terrains. We're just going to wing it. We're going to do this. Okay, interesting.
I'm going to get into this character sheet thing. Sorry, I'm interrupting your regularly scheduled chat here.
Okay,
I see.
Blackwall's next.
So, only partially agree with this. Crafty Matt says reference the sheet only when the referee asks the player to roll. there's there's lots of things in your character sheet that don't require you to roll to use. So
Equipment for one.
Yeah, equipment, or as a player of many spellcasters, there are lots of spells that don't require rolls. So sometimes you do need to reference your character sheet. And I'm sure that he doesn't necessarily mean that is absolutely as it appears, but it's a mantra online. Play your character, not your sheet. Whatever.
Yeah. I like
if you don't have a character sheet, you don't have a character. So I don't know.
I do like this, though. If players remember that players should never ask for a roll and just describe what the character is doing, perhaps players wouldn't play the sheet so often. I do find it, I kind of agree with that, but more from the vantage point is, can I make a perception check? Just tell me you're looking. I'll tell you. I mean, to me, you can say potato, but I would say it's weird, though, to say, let me make a perception check. Can I don't
know why it's weird.
It's weird. It's weird because you're taking I think you're taking the thing out. I think you're taking yourself. I guess it's not weird if you want to say it's purely gamey. It's cool, but you're taking yourself out of the narrative right there. Just say, I'm looking for this. Can I look? I want to look over here for something. I mean,
well, also for that, I mean, some things should be obvious.
Yes.
Like you can see a door in front of you, unless it's disguised in some amazing manner.
Right.
You can see it, and so there should be no role involved. And so if you go, I want to look around and see if there's any doors in this room. Yeah, that's not searching for secret doors, but your DM should be able to answer immediately. Yes or no? Are there doors that would be normally visible?
Yeah,
shouldn't involve a roll.
I would say for that last comment that you should be careful for new game masters, especially if they're just going through, say, a pre-rated adventure where it says, hey, this NPC needs a persuasion check or diplomacy check of blah, and then they'll tell you all their life story. And where if you say, hey, we're going to get this guy taking the bar and we're going to be best friends, is your actions. So I had that where we had a bunch of veteran players and a relatively new game master. He's like, so why did you guys not ask to make a diplomacy check when he basically failed us on the encounter? We're like, that's what we're doing by smooching him at the bar. It was just one of those. And so you got to be careful because sometimes they do look for the check, but that is more of is the game master knows what he should be looking for, what the action should dictate.
Yeah.
So experience.
Yeah. And then what was the question that you asked?
Oh, sorry. So back to our question. My original question was, if you're prepping for a game or a session or a campaign, what is your style of? Would you choose Theater of the Mind? Would you choose minis or some other variant?
Oh, both.
Okay.
I mean, I would do a mixture, but I mean, I'll do slightly more crazy things for random encounters because frequently I have players make decisions that I didn't always anticipate. That's one of the joys I have of playing with all kinds of new people. And so I'll pull out terrain and minis for random encounters too. Like it doesn't have to be some set piece thing I decided ahead. But I agree with Joe that for like big battles, especially, it's very helpful to have that kind of thing. And with Nate, the idea for role playing, if you're just like going to a bar and talking with some people, you don't really need terrain or minis for that. Like you can just describe that.
Yeah. I think at the beginning of 3.5, I was way into the minis so much. I wanted to draw everything out. I drew everything out. It slowed the get way down, but I'm kind of there. I'm at the, set piece battles. I'd like to have minis and everything ready to go. And if it's otherwise random encounter, like Joe said, we'll just wing it, see what happens and just kind of do Theater of the Mind. Larry Elliott chimes in, Joe, to your defense. As someone new to this wonderful gaming world, I looked at the character sheet a lot, tried to before my turn to not sell the game. Yeah, sure. I don't think you shouldn't look at it. You absolutely should. I mean, that's not a thing, but I just don't. It would be weird if players were like, well, I want to make a sense motive roll. I guess you could say that. I guess it's not the end of the world, but sometimes sometimes it bugs me when they're just constantly, I'm not ready, or especially this. Not only do they say it, but they roll it as they say it. I'm making
Oh,
use of
that is.
that's
I
annoying.
make a So there was lots of times when we were playing third edition.
Yep.
I make a perception check. What happens?
Right.
I'm like, no.
Right. Then
That's no
annoying.
good. That's no good. But for the most part, when I play, I describe to you what I want to do.
Yeah.
Every once in a while, I'll say, hey, can I do this? Can I use this skill to accomplish this thing? Especially if it's kind of off the wall.
Right.
So,
and that's really just trying to help the DM out. I want to accomplish this. This might work.
Right. So, but I think we should just not be in each other's case about the specific words that we use. You know, am I supposed to use all the syllables you want me to use? It's weird.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. If, and once you play with a certain group of people long enough, you feel each other out, and then you have a way of doing things at your table, and then it's not much of a problem. But a lot of the chat about, play your character, not your sheet, and don't tell me what you're doing, tell me what you want to do, and I'll tell you when to roll. I get all that.
Yeah.
That comes from being outside a particular table, and we're just talking.
Yeah. And I think I'm sure they've all had experiences, both Legion and Max have had experiences in Crafty Matt where it got under their skin. And like I said, I would bet dollars to donuts we'd have no issue playing with Crafty Matt. I bet we'd have no issue playing with Legion. I know I don't. I play with him. Oh yeah. What's Legion saying? What did he say? I missed that.
Yes, Joe. Yes, because I'm being a little pedantic, but
right.
I see this online a lot where people are essentially telling each other how to play. Essentially. And I don't get involved in those anymore because there's no winning any of those arguments. Because people just yell at each other, you're not playing right. Blah, blah, blah. Whatever. Stupid. Stop it. Shut up.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, Joe, your spells only work if you say blah, 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 whatever that is. I'm not even going to try to pronounce it. I must use specific words.
Vance's, what's that? 13th age talent? Vance's.
Oh, multisyllabic
something or other.
Yeah.
You love that one.
I like it in theory. That's a 13th age thing where you had to describe your spell in real flowery words every time you cast it, and you get a bonus. Mm-hmm. I couldn't be bothered. It's just too much effort for not enough return for me. For other sorts, that was something they like, so that's fine with them. But not me.
If you're interested, I'm going to be running a couple of 13th age games, both a low level one and a higher level one. That's it.
Vance's polysyllabic verbalizations.
Right.
Vance, as in Jack Vance, so was named after him.
Well, it sounds like we all kind of come in or near the same place. Then we like both of them, and I think there's room for both at our tables.
Mm-hmm. They're tools. All these things are tools in a toolbox. Use them at your discretion. So mix and match approach.
Yeah, I think we left anything off. Go ahead.
Oh, I was just agreeing with you, but I guess to me, as far as the takeaway goes, though, that the main thing with terrain is that that we had talked about, the main downside other than time is really price. And I don't know if you guys had any further thoughts on helping mitigate that. I mean, for me personally, the best way to mitigate it really has been choosing to purchase those things with as a group rather than making it one guy's expense.
Yeah, either you do that, you buy in bulk. Yeah, those are really the only ways to mitigate it.
I don't know.
Find deals on eBay or local swap meets, though. I've been trying every time we have this local thing called One Bid, but every time minis come up, someone always, it goes from a deal to I'm never going to pay this for these things in a heartbeat. So no, it almost you'd have to catch people asleep, and I think catching people asleep on this particular one bid is done. You can do it on eBay because you can do the buy it now thing for some things, But this bidding sites, they usually are bidding for 3 or 4 days, and someone can just come in and poof, and you're like, okay, this ain't a deal anymore.
Yep. I
Patrick
actually
Demo says,
remember. Yeah.
it isn't me, Joe. I'm like, okay, fine.
There's something to say though about making your own terrain. Like,
yeah,
once you know how. I remember one time at a con, we had terrain that was made by one of our players, and someone just flat up said, "I'll give you $200 for all that." He's like, "My life will love you." Just
I was telling you. Yeah, go ahead.
He's like, "It cost me, $20 to make it, other than the time."
Right. So there's a fellow. There's a YouTube fellow called Black Magic Craft, and he shows a lot of inexpensive ways to do things. He even has one video dedicated to how he cheats at painting minis and making terrain cheaply. So yeah, Black Magic Craft is something to look up if you want to make your own terrain. That does cost you in time. So if you're already trapped for time to prep for your game, making terrain may not be what you want to do, but you could get other people to do it like you're saying, and it'll save you time as well.
Patty's Power says, I have to send you guys some pics of my terrain. Can I send them to you via Twitter, Joe?
No.
No Twitter.
Of course you can, but you can put them in Twitter or Discord. Either way is fine.
You'll appreciate Bruce at Dick's Division. He said, go to hell, Randy. The game only starts at 10th level. I mentioned
that's what I say.
I know. They were telling this past Friday, I was on Legion's Friday night chill stream, and he made a comment about me saying, Joe wants to start characters at 10th level. I'm like, yeah, he kind of does.
Sometimes, starting at 0 every time.
Yeah,
it's annoying.
I can only play one first and third level so many times.
I can only pretend fire doesn't hurt trolls so much.
Yeah, sweet.
Once you master a game or a game process, the D20 system is so ubiquitous. Any game that's anything like it, it's easy to learn. Running through your low levels is a little tedious, and you can be a really good DM, but it can still be a little tedious. Want to get to the next level. I want to get to a place where you're, me personally. Some people aren't like that. And it's like all of this stuff that we've been talking about here today so far. Theater of the mind or the toys or a mix and match. It's all a matter of your temperament and your preferences. There's no, this is the right way to do things.
Right.
There's only preferences. So do you want to use them or do you not want to use them? Do you want to start at 0 level or not? Or first level, whatever. First and 0, not much difference, especially with older editions. If it's first level character in your early game, a strong wind comes by and you're all dead.
Jeremy Herndon, welcome to him. This is Patty's brother. He said, tailor your game to the players you have playing. I think that's kind of echoing what you just said, Joe. Do what people like, man. Do the stuff that they like. Yeah.
You don't necessarily have to change the way you play, but once you can, I think what we did was more curate our group. Yes. So people gravitate to the DMs that they like, and I would rather the DM just play the way they want to, and then we can all figure out where we're going to go.
Well, we have 20 plus people in our master
and lots of people with different play styles.
Don't you guys have a pretty good group there, Nathan and DM?
Yeah, we also have I guess you could consider them daughter groups, so that guys that we used to play with are now running their own group with 5 or 10 different people that they're gaming with regularly and so on.
You should call it master slave groups.
Yes,
I
much
see.
Better.
I see.
Yeah.
But sometimes it's actually more like AA and AAA.
Okay.
Sometimes we call them up okay, we really need that cleric now.
Calling up to the big leagues, buddy. Need to have now.
Even some folks that I know who we used to game with who are on a wildly different end of the political spectrum and also some other areas of life. Like we still will help each other with RPG stuff. Like I'll give them miniatures or they'll send us stuff, or like, and that's actually one thing I really like about this particular hobby, that is that when you get out of the internet space, frequently you can assist each other regardless of a lot of other factors about you personally. And I think that's really cool.
Yeah, if your personality isn't confrontational with that stuff, you can usually get along in almost every setting without it coming up.
Yeah.
Especially with gaming, because we're supposed to be escaping, not worrying about the outside world. We're supposed to, all have fun escaping into a fun session of killing monsters and taking their stuff.
Yeah.
If they have any stuff to take.
Well,
Randy.
Don't worry, my monsters don't have treasure. You'll never have to worry about that. That's not a thing in my campaigns. Treasure's for the weak.
Stingy.
Now, Joe, it sounded like you kind of wanted to jump to that second segment, because one of the questions that you asked is like partway through it.
Okay, let's hold on a second, because Joe wants to tell the people to do something first.
Oh, I sure do. Thank you
We're
for
going to
reminding
transition to that second one. Excellent, DM Blackwall. Joe needs to say something.
Transition's a naughty word right now. So how about we just say subscribe? Subscribe, like, share, comment, stop by during the live stream, if only just to say hi. You can even leave it in the background while you're doing other stuff. YouTube, don't tell them you're doing that. They don't like that. But if you are listening to this after the fact on your podcatcher of choice, I would suggest, which is the one I use. I have to pull it up because I've used a lot of different apps on my phone for these things. Fountain. If you're not using Fountain, it's a newer app that has some advantages. I like it, but if you're listening to it after the fact, leave some comment, follow us, give us a rating. That would be great. A review, that is. All that stuff is good. Stop by Big Geek Emporium. We are still in a kind of a building process, squashing bugs and stuff like that with our code. There has been some recent issues after we loaded up a new theme for the site, but please bear with us. It's a very small crew.
Crafty Matt says, I use Pocket Cast. What does Fountain bring to the table?
Okay, Fountain. Okay. For those of you who are into Bitcoin, Fountain awards you something called sats for listening to podcasts. And within the app, you can share those things. And it's kind of a mini economy within the app that you can actually, at some point, if you amass enough, bring outside of the app and make it into real money. So if that's what you want to do with it, if you just want to save your Bitcoin, which is what most of the smart folks say you should do, then you can do that too. But you have to listen to a lot to get anything significant. It's more of a, and I'm not the expert on it. It's more of an interesting idea at this point than substantial, unless you have a big following. If you have a big following, then you can actually get something substantial out of it. This one fellow says he's gotten millions of sats out of it.
Wow. Okay, yeah, I wanted to this next topic, which I want to let DM Blackwall tell me what he's thinking, how you alluded to. I want to talk about advancement. I'm
sorry. One more thing. Fountain is more of a free speech type thing as well. Cool. So they're less likely to bounce you because you don't have the proper ideas and thoughts and things and words. So all of that.
Gotcha. So I listened to but I had this idea before and they stole it, which was good. advancing in our old age. This is kind of, let me make my statement and I'll let Dan Blackwall kind of, he said Joe had said something that was leading into this topic. We're talking about advancement, and there's all sorts of types. I get it. But what brought this to me is I'm 56. And Joe is older than me. And so he only has a few years left.
I am 2 or 3 months older than you.
You're ancient. You might as well be 1,000 years older than me. But anyway, my thought is, I hate waiting. I am sick of the experience point charts. Sick to death of them. Only because I don't want to wait for 500,000 experience points to be 11th level. It's too long for my age. I need people to get to levels at a reasonable pace. I don't want them to level every half session, but I'd like to kind of burn through levels 1 through 3 if we're talking the D&D scale. That's me, my personal opinion. There's all sorts of advancement we could talk about, but that's kind of what brought this discussion of advancement. So, DM Blackwall, what were you saying that Joe had alluded to?
Well, he had alluded to that same idea. He had talked about specifically about leveling up a little faster, just a little bit ago in the stream. And so I think the best solution that I've seen, assuming that you're playing a level-based game, not a skill-based game, right? Because those use a different kind of progression. But if you have a level-based game, the best solution I've seen is actually from a website called Red Dragon Inn. It's been online for like 20, 25 years. Yeah. And their suggestion is that you get 1 experience for every adventure, and you need a number of new experience points equal to your current level to level up. And so essentially you speed through low level play because you finish 1 adventure with a level 1 character. Now you're level 2, but then you have to do 2 adventures to get to level 3 and so on. And I think that that's a good way to get to higher level play relatively quickly. And that kind of translates across systems.
It does. I mean, yeah, that's a nice generic advancement approach. I think Tinkar at Tinkar's Tavern, what did he do? Swords and Wizardry Light, and I think his rules are like that, where you do 1 adventure, you gain a level. So at 2nd level you have to do 2. At 3rd level you have to do 3. And we're talking full adventure though, right? Not a session.
Right. Okay. And then for my game, we did basically variable XP of 2 to 4, but you need but for Horde Wars you need 12 to level up. And so depending on what exactly you did and how dangerous it was, plus you can get bonus XP if you're voted the MVP for the session, you can get an extra point. But you could level up potentially like every 3 sessions if you're doing, dangerous things and pulling it off. Or it could take as long as 6. And I think that seems to work pretty well. But our characters also don't start out as like, how to phrase this, dung farmers.
Right.
You start out as a hero.
Gotcha.
Competent.
Yes. Yes.
I'm going to share something right quick. Sure. These are the pictures that Patty's Parlor was talking about for his terrain, and they're really, really cool.
Really sweet. I'm sure they are.
Let me do this.
He's a good painter too.
Let me.
Wow. Yep.
Can you make him a little? Yeah.
Let me see if I can.
Oh wow, that's nice.
I say get a portfolio together. I think
that's
some people.
Cool.
That is nice. Wow, dude.
Yep.
Patty, right on.
Is that foam core you're using there for the board? For the board? That would be that's cool. That is very cool.
Yeah.
There's that one. That's some nifty stuff there.
Yeah, he says dollar store foam core. Dig that.
Yeah, you can do a lot with that. You buy it. Some people peel off the paper part and then they do whatever they do. So yeah, that's cool.
I could barely make a TP out of that stuff. So you were amazing.
Well, I have tried a couple of different things with the foam core. There's a system of doing this stuff called Terrano. Oops. And I've done that. I've done I can't remember the name of it now. They've been defunct for WorldWorks.
Yeah, I have some of those. Those are cool.
Yeah.
Terraclips.
Terraclips, yeah. Well, that was one incarnation. They had a different one before that.
Yeah.
But yeah, this is really cool stuff, guy.
Yeah, it's probably riveting podcast. Look how cool this is. You can't see it.
Yes. For you on the audio,
suck it.
I will try. Yeah, you can suck it. This is really cool terrain. It's very sci-fi. He's used foam core to make battle boards. It looks like they are modular. But there's probably a billion YouTube videos showing how to make this stuff. What I'll try to do is have some of this in the show notes so that folks who listen can refer to these after the fact. So yeah. Oh, I'm doing the wrong thing there. And one last one.
Okay, so we're looking at this, and I think Patty said he said it was the first two are games of his mutants being played, his battle game.
Yeah.
Yet to play. I should take that to Cabin Con.
This is really cool stuff, dude.
Yeah, it is. Looks great, Patty. Well done, sir.
Looks like some of this scattered terrain you got these little bits here are from other games, perhaps.
Yeah.
Which is what you can do. You can cannibalize other games for your tabletop stuff, is what DM Blackwall had said earlier.
Yep.
Some of the others, and so anyway, that was my big thing. Some of the others chimed in. Legion of Mist said, Earth Dawn, he's drinking. Instead of getting abilities when you level up, you raise abilities as you like. Once you meet the criteria, you're considered the level. It's like a belt system for martial arts. Oh, you got to pass so many tests and do the right things. And Bruce says, I'd rather play my own system. So here's the question. So, and I don't know if this is a problem or not. Joe and I have recently, in the last couple of years, been more enamored of the OSR, and we've been talking a lot about liking the old different advancement tables for different classes. I assume in Horde Wars that's not a thing, right? That all the characters are basically advanced at the same pace, in essence.
Yeah.
Okay. I wonder if there'd be a way that you could do an OSR type game where you could have different advancements, but you could just have a different, scale things back a little bit. I like the 1, 2, 3. I like the lower track of numbers. I'm also a fan of milestone advancement. But that tends to keep the characters at the same level.
Our most old school is style advancement that we offer, because we have written and tested a variant advancement system that worked well, and then one that didn't work well. So it's good we tested it. But is artifact based advancement. So instead of for that variant, instead of gaining levels based on the adventures you complete, you gain levels based on the artifacts you recover, like from ruins or on your different adventures. And you get double the XP if you give the artifact to your patron, like whoever hired you, instead of keeping it for yourself.
And your artifacts are like your magic items, right?
Exactly. So it's kind of like gold for experience, but it's magic items for experience.
Bruce,
so you benefit from
me, Joe. I did not know Randy is gay in reference to his poor opinion of Miles. Poor. I don't know what that means. Later, Crafty. He's out of here.
Yeah. So, with the magic item thing, if you keep it, you get to take advantage of it by using it. If you give it away, the advantage is you advance.
Double.
Yep.
Double.
And it's not like I go sell it for money, because then you just
No.
lose your, you know.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So recovering it at all gives you 1 experience. Selling it gives you 2.
Okay.
And you only need 12 to level up. So as you collect artifacts, you can gain levels. And so that seems to work okay, but it definitely changes how the players approach the game. Like, we noticed that they would take far greater risks with artifact XP than with like our normal one. And like, because they would do stuff like go after a dragon when it might not be to their advantage, because they really want to try and get those artifacts.
Right. So if they know that, or if there's rumor or they've done some research and they think that there's something ahead,
Yeah.
they'll be more risky, which is fine.
Yeah.
No risk, no reward. So
yeah,
that's what I
and
say.
so that style of XP gain, yeah, it definitely changes how kind of the average play group will behave, and then also it makes them a bit more swingy, because sometimes they'll have a game session where they gain no levels, and other times they'll just level up one session, then another session as they go do crazy things and manage to pull them off and then roll well on the treasure table.
If they take the risk and the risk is real, I mean,
Yeah.
as real as in gaming real,
Yeah.
then fine.
Yeah.
And then probably your different tables are going to have you're going to express all that differently. The DM,
Exactly.
right? If you have a stingy DM like this fellow over here, it won't matter how much risk taking you want. He's not going to have anything over
Here's
there.
your 4 copper pieces. Now shut up.
He will say something weird like, I didn't think about magic items.
You do that like once or 7 times, and Joe never lets you live it down.
Once every session.
I barely forget about magic items. They're not that important.
You don't need magic items.
Look, Legion's right. Classes characters just need to be viable, nothing more. You're viable. You don't need magic items. You're good.
That's an opinion.
So, okay. So playing once, so say playing twice a month, let's say playing every week. We'll use your Horde Wars as an example. How long would it take if we played, 4 to 6 hour sessions twice every week? How long do you think it would take for a character to get through all the levels in the game? Just, as Joe says, he wants to experience the whole game.
I'd say that if you were doing it, you said once every couple weeks.
Let's say you were playing every week for 4 hours.
Oh, every week for 4 hours. That would be, call it, you'd basically be done with leveling up in 8 months to a year, unless you were incredibly adverse to risk.
Ah, okay.
If you were like, we're doing the easiest thing always, then it would be slower.
Does that include the high level option you're going to come out with at some point? Or
yeah. So the higher level play is levels 5 through 12. And so so basic is levels 1 through 4, and that would take you at that play rate. That would take you about, let's assume you complete an adventure every couple sessions or something. That would take you about 6 weeks to gain a level at that rate. Now, you could obviously complete adventures faster, and you could do ones that yield more experience. But let's assume you're just kind of going with averages. It'd be about 6 weeks a level.
Okay.
About 12 sessions to get through it all. So, ish.
Well, that's not too
12
bad.
to 16. So
in your 1 to 12 isn't equivalent to D&D 1 to 12, because you start out more competent, but you don't necessarily have the 15 to 20th level type effects, right?
We do. But mostly those are accessible through items rather than through personal ability.
Right.
So we have wish spells and that kind of thing, but you can't force yourself to have it. You'd have to find an item to do it.
Right.
If that makes sense.
Right. So the upper echelon of what would normally be in a D&D type game teleporting all over the place, and meteor swarms, and fighters attacking a whole troves of warriors. All that's
Oh no,
that's
you can
more
do all
rel-
that.
You can do all that with characters. Usually it would be in the levels. So we have a tier system. So 1 to 4 is tier 1.
Mhm.
That would be equivalent to a level 5 to level 8 D&D character, I would say.
Yeah.
So you can think of your power level there. And so tier 2 is really your like level 9 through 13, 14.
Okay.
And then the tier 3, which starts at level 9, is going to be your upper level beyond that.
Mhm.
The biggest thing for ours, which is sort of different, is every time you tier up, you get to pick what ability suites you add. And so your classes decide like what is available to you, and also your race.
Right.
And so every ability would technically be available at level 5 tier 2. And the question is just which ones make sense for your character and how you're playing it. So a lot of the classes we designed for the game have like 2 sides. So like in mage, like you could be a fire mage for direct damage, you get the meteor swarm. Or you could do more teleporty and get like gate style.
But it's an or.
It's an or until you can go up to the next tier, then you have another choice, which you can then pick it up then.
But at some level, at some point, we'll say, instead of level, so we won't confuse things.
Yeah.
With the way your game is constructed, you're going to have an either or proposition going up. Yeah. So you're not going to have kind of the stereotypical wizard with a spell book full of stuff has 500 spells. You're just not going to have that.
No.
Not even with items.
There's scrolls and things, but
yeah, but those are single use, and which is fine.
Yep.
It's just it's a variation.
Yeah, and the reason for that is because of our desire to enhance the speed at the game table. We don't. I mean, I think probably all of us currently talking have been in a situation where we're waiting for the wizard to decide what to do.
Mm-hmm. Gotcha.
And by making them have very powerful options that they picked or have found with treasure, but are limited in number, we've found that dramatically increases how quickly the wizard character will act, or how quickly a lich will act as an opponent, for example.
So instead of having a laundry list of things that they can choose from, even at the table, because at some point you do.
That speeds up play.
Yes. Speeds up play.
Generally speaking, does that too. If you're truly mage, like that's your focus. Because one thing is for this, it's a 2-class system.
Right.
So you could be, I want to be a swordsman and I want to be a mage.
Right.
And then you get both ability suites. In that case, since you didn't go double mage, you would have half the spells.
Right.
But like at most, you'll be getting to 12 to 14 spells in a character. But if you go double mage at the beginning, you could have 6 or 7 of them probably at level 1.
Right. So if you take 2 spellcasting classes, that makes you more versatile.
Yep.
You could even,
But then also as the choice, you have to choose which of those 2 spellcasting classes you're updating.
Right. Because you can't do both, right?
Correct.
At a particular level up.
Correct.
Yeah, and that also helps the players who try out our system learn useful information about the game world. Like if you're playing, say, a red wizard, blue wizard pairing, you will know what that means. And so when you hear about an NPC and he's described as a red wizard or an archmage, you'll have some idea of what kinds of spells he can cast because of your own use of the character advancement system. And then the same is true for like a crusader or a knight. If you're playing one of those and you meet one in the game world, you'll have some idea of their actual capabilities. However, the NPCs in the game world are pretty much all single classed. One of the things that sets you apart as a hero is that you've got 2 different suites of abilities.
How does their pacing sound, Joe, for their game to you? For you as a player, do you like 6 weeks a level, let's say? Is that what we said roughly? 6 sessions a level? Did I hear that right?
No.
It would be, you could do it as fast as 2, but I'm assuming that you're not attempting to
assume an average pace.
Yeah.
Would it be like 6 sessions a level, roughly?
I'd say closer to 4.
Especially when it's not hard and fast. So if I, as a player, and I'm an aggressive player, I will push as much as the other players will let me, I will drag them kicking and screaming through risky situations.
Yes.
And I think that's fun. And
I love that about that guy.
And so I might, I will, as long as it's dependent on that and not some 6 months from now, your character will level. No matter how risky or unrisky it is. But risk, taking on risk will get you there faster.
Yes.
I like that.
Yeah. So the base system is every adventure you complete, you get 2 to 4 experience based on the difficulty. So if it was a difficult adventure and you succeeded, you'd get 4 experience. If it was a really easy adventure, you'd get 2 or maybe 3. And then you need 12 to level up. So you could level up like every 3 sessions. That could happen, but you'd have to keep pushing difficult adventures on purpose.
Legion of Mist says 3 to 5 adventures of 2 to 5 sessions each is the pace he likes. 8-hour sessions. He likes it a little slow.
No, it could be fast. 2 to 5, 3 to 5. You could do it in 6. You could do it in 6.
Yeah. Right. 6 8-hour sessions.
Yeah, that's not terrible. Well,
or
it all
25,
depends.
Or 25.
If it takes a year to go from level 1 to level 2, then you're doing it wrong, in my opinion.
Yeah.
But some people like that still, because they're like, I can be level 1 forever. I don't care, and that's fine for them.
But the whole goal is the call for adventure. You need to be going out and doing things, being those heroes we want to be, or being the villain that you want to. Depends on this game you're in.
Right.
Yeah.
And
this is not.
I was just going to say, as far as the leveling up thing goes as well, to me, I pretty much enjoyed the most in pretty much every version of D&D I played, roughly character levels like 3 to 8.
Did you?
Yeah. I played much higher. I played, several 35th plus level characters, but I really enjoyed probably the most character levels 3 to 8.
That's kind of the sweet spot. We found in 3rd edition that 6 to 10 was fun for the high action sort of stuff. But yeah, 3 to 8, 3 to 10 is pretty good. David Will says, at Biggest Geek, I don't really care much about leveling. It's nice, but I'm more interested in what's happening session to session. I'm not sure what he means by that. Patty's Parlor asks, go ahead. Patty's Parlor asks you guys a question. When you say difficult, how often do characters expire during a difficult adventure?
Well, we definitely didn't make it impossible to die. We've got one player who's on character number 3, and I think they're on session 12.
Oh, okay. Okay.
However, in his case, he does do riskier things, and that doesn't always work out.
Right. Okay.
I think there was only one lucky. I just offed your character with an ability that turns your character off. One of those like perfect storm, because they were in the perfect storm. It was, but yeah. It's so difficult usually means there's a chance for character death.
Right.
And there's a chance all the time because of the dice size we used and that we're using, crit triggers. So, for example, let's pretend you're a 24 hit point character. Mm-hmm. Well, a random dude could crit on you with a D12 crit, and then roll a 12 on his damage with his weapon and just drop you.
Right.
Like that could happen.
Sure.
Is it likely? No, but
Right.
it could happen. And so at any moment in adventure, if you're vulnerable, if you've left yourself open, you could die. And we, like that kind of play. We want to reward you for playing tactically. We want to make it so that you can succeed, but we want there to be a real risk of death at any moment.
Sure. I like that too. I think
so. Our hit points are relatively low.
Yep.
Yeah.
I mean, I think at the start there's you're not single digit hit points, right?
No, I think 18 start.
Right, but over the course, it's not going to go up dramatically.
No, you're gaining like 2 a level.
Yeah, right. So that'll keep you on your toes for sure.
Yep. Yeah. I mean, almost every fight, someone is in dire need of healing or down. It's
gotcha. Hey guys, I am going to take my dogs for a walk because they are looking at me cross-eyed. So I'll be right back.
All right. So do you guys have an opinion on how fast is too fast for leveling?
I know from my experience with the Pathfinder Society and like the organized play, it's usually 3 sessions to a level. Like, so you go through 3 adventures. Each adventure is about 4 hours.
Right.
And that'll get your level. And I think that's the fastest you probably want.
Right. Especially in Pathfinder.
Because anything faster than that, you lose track of your character's abilities and you no longer feels like you.
Yeah. Is that in Pathfinder Society 1? Pathfinder 1?
That was Pathfinder 1, yes.
Okay. Go ahead, Dan Blackwall. Sorry.
Oh, I agree. I think advancing faster in a game you're familiar with, in the interest of enjoying those that higher level play, especially as we get older, or as it's the 10th time you've played this particular game. Yeah, that's totally understandable.
Right.
But especially if you're trying to learn a game, you do not want to advance quicker than that, or you won't learn your new abilities.
Yeah. Yeah. Did you guys ever toy with the idea of having, well, your system's so different. People can pick you can be a mixed sort of class. So there's no, is there no class that, like, I know in old D&D, the thief was kind of the weak guy. And so he gained really, really fast. The wizards took forever. Did you guys ever toy with the idea of having different experience points charts?
No, but that's mostly because we wanted to give you really competitive choices with one another.
Okay.
So that when you decided what you wanted to play for your character, that really any group of any pair of choices would be interesting and fun to play. And if we made something stand out as super weak, you just wouldn't pick it because of the style of character creation. Yeah. Which isn't to say they're balanced. They're not meant to be balanced, and they're not meant to be balanced at every level.
Right.
They're just supposed to be interesting to play and viable. Like at certain levels or against certain types of opponents, like a wizard or a crusader is going to be way more powerful than anyone else. But against other kinds of opponents, a huntsman is who you're going to want to have in your party. Or against other kinds of opponents, like you really are going to want a priest, and so on. Like there isn't this, as far as we can tell with playtesting, and there are over 400 unique character builds you can do just off the careers and the species, right?
Yeah.
That with the playtesting we've done, I think over 1,200 hours now. There doesn't seem to be any like single class that's just you're immediately overpowered, and there also isn't one where you're just unable to function.
So it's not like the old classic, like I would say, the thief situation where in combat, if he didn't get a backstab, he was useless.
Right.
Right. Jeremy Herndon makes this comment. I'm going to get to Patty's in a second. He says, I've run games that the players got upset that they didn't level up after each and every adventure. It was some of the worst gaming. Yeah, I'm sure it was horrible. That would drive me up a wall.
I mean, there's an exception. D100 where you get 1% increases.
Oh no! Oh, you have 1% to put in one skill.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
That would be okay every session.
Yeah, I think Jeremy's talking about true levels. And Patty has a question for you guys. He says, "So I'm hearing pick 2 classes along with the War Machine call. I don't know if that is. What were your it was a call out for War Machine.
Yeah.
Someone like, what were your favorite inspirations for rules writing? Since Joe's gone, we'll just talk about Horde Wars.
Yeah, so that was more on me. So I do know the Iron Kingdom system, which is the 2 classes.
Yeah.
And that had some inspiration, at least from my end in thinking. But I think we're taking it from classic D&D and just fantasy in general and trying to have it more realistic kind of setting.
Yeah. And for me, I actually liked both the idea of Gestalt play in 3.5, if you remember that, Randy.
I do. Yeah, that was crazy.
Yeah.
Cool.
And also, I liked the idea of these kind of focuses that they're doing in 5th edition at 3rd level, where you're basically picking a subclass.
Yeah.
So one way to think of our game is like you're always playing Gestalt.
Oh, okay.
Another way to think of it is that you basically get 2 subclasses, but there is no actual class. Like you just get those things.
Do you think your game, because Joe and I have been having a lot of discussions recently, that it's, as much as we like old school, it's hard to imagine a 1 hit point wizard doing much adventuring at all. Mainly not because he could die, but the idea is if you're an adventurer, aren't they kind of hardy folks already? They would be a cut above the normal, I would think.
So one of the big assumptions we make in the game, and kind of in the core rules, is you're competent. Basically, you can make rolls on skills you don't necessarily have training in. The training just makes it better, but you can still roll. And generally speaking, the hit points is fairly similar. Classes choices can change that. There's ways to go, I want to be the hit point monster, or like I'm going to play the wizard like I am Rosalind from Dragonlance. But you will generally have a certain amount of hit points, and you will be able to like jump 10-foot gap probably.
Right.
Would would the barbarian or the crusader do better at it? Probably. And so, but it's essentially you are an adventurer, you're hardy, you've seen things, you're cut above the other NPCs, which are basically one class.
Right.
And so that's kind of the feel and the ideal. We're going ahead, going, hey, you're a hero. So now go try to be one.
Right. You're made of that stuff. Go do it.
Yep.
But initially, you really just start out with a 6 hit point boost above a normal NPC of your starting level. Like a regular guy that would be level 1 would have 12 hit points. So you start with 18 because you're a hero.
Right.
Like that's good and all, but we also incentivize specific behavior. So, for example, our berserker is incentivized to not wear heavy armor because he does extra damage as long as he doesn't wear heavy armor.
Gotcha.
Or our wizard is incentivized not to wear armor because he gets these cool wizard robes that give him protection against certain elemental damage types, but they don't do anything at all to protect him against like getting stabbed.
Right. So someone that's a double mage doesn't want to get into melee, generally speaking.
Right. But he could choose just not to benefit from those wizard robes and just wear armor. Or he could be like a mixture of like a knight and a wizard. And then maybe he wants to wear the armor as a knight. And that's fine. But then he loses this thing that would otherwise give him a unfair advantage.
Yeah. Well, I have a question. So go ahead. Were you guys going to add something else? I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
Well, think about building your game. Do you find yourselves, I know the business side of you're probably still consumed with Horde Wars and getting it all to work out. Are you wanting? Do you want to play that more than other games? Would you say that right now that's your headspace for the type of games you want to play? Fantasy games, or is
I
it
mean,
broad? Is it broader?
for me, definitely, but not just fantasy specifically, because we're actually working on 3 games.
Oh,
Horde Wars is just the fantasy one.
okay.
We're also working on a dark a near future superhero game, and then we're also working on a sci-fi game. And
Oh,
I with a fairly robust space combat system that we've play tested pretty heavily, actually, and that works well. I actually started working on Horde Wars on my own during a time when Nate was out of town for like a month, as a way for me to explore how to do better character ability development in the sci-fi game.
oh, okay.
Yeah,
And then when we
Horde-
play tested Horde Wars, just the stuff I'd kind of drawn out over that month, that was more popular with our play testers. So we decided to focus on developing that, and then complete work on the sci-fi game. But like, we've got some concept art done for that, and I don't know, 600-900 hours of play testing done on that as well.
Do you guys have? Well, I'm sorry, Nathan. Is that kind of your headspace too, or would you rather play it, or do you like all kinds of games, even though you're kind of?
I'm unfortunately I like all types of games, which is kind of where the Horde Wars rule set is really for these multiple types, so we can get your fix in, so to speak. But I think I generally lean towards fantasy more.
Yeah.
Especially high fantasy is more my escape.
I've run one sci-fi game at Cabin Con a couple years ago. It went really well, but I'm not really a sci-fi guy in general as far as running games. I like to watch it, but what I was thinking as I dip my toe and do a little bit of creating myself, were you guys looking? So I guess my question is, so you weren't looking for, maybe DM Blackwall was sort of that perfect game. I mean, I guess all players have something like that in the back of their head, but is that what you're trying to create for yourself? This would be the game that I would want to play, or is it more like, I think this is cool, this is one type of game I want to play? I'm assuming that's Nathan's answer. I don't know if DM Blackwall sounds like maybe it's the other. Do you hope this is the game that ends all games for you?
Well, hopefully one of a few, because as I said, there's some genre considerations.
Sure. Genre stuff, sure.
But as far as that goes, I have fun playing a lot of other games,
right.
But as it relates to D&D in particular, for me, I think once Horde Wars is out, I do not anticipate going back to anything Wizards of the Coast puts out.
Well,
because the reality is, aside from many other issues like the OJL controversy and such, Nate and I have found more efficient ways, like measurably more efficient ways, to portray some of the more iconic abilities. And so I don't like wasting time waiting for other people to take their turns. I like the game to get moving, and some of the changes relative to D&D that you'll see in our game in Horde Wars are designed for that, to make the game flow.
For instance, I think the first encounter for fantasy that we ever had a party of like 5 players.
Yeah.
Versus 40 goblins, and we were done in 30 minutes.
That's nice.
Just level 1 characters, level 1 goblins, plus a couple bosses. First encounter, can this handle it? And it did.
That's cool. Yeah, Patty says he says, if I'm not creating a game that I want to play, my heart isn't in it. Yeah, fair enough. I think that's true. Shall we transition to the last segment here now that Joe's back? A little Cabin Con moment. Joe, you want to tell him to do the things again?
Yes.
Don't forget to
subscribe. If you haven't already, folks here in the chat probably are, unless YouTube in their infinite wisdom has unsubscribed them, which happens. So those who are here, check their subscription status. That'd be great.
Yep.
Subscribe, like, share, share with your friends. That's probably the most important thing. So we can get into more ear holes.
All right. So with CabinCon coming, DM Blackwall and Nathan Lindy are going to join us this year in the great white north. Hopefully it won't be white. Hopefully it'll be nice. I'm planning on running 2 13th Age games, a level 7 continuation. It's called the Protection of the Egg game. Sounds weird, but it would make more sense if you'd heard of it. And then a level 1 game to introduce new players to 13th Age. I did that a little bit for you guys, but I got other players at CabinCon that haven't played 13th Age much, and I'm going to give them a chance to play a first level character, make their own if they want to. And Deadlands. I'm going to run a Deadlands adventure. I think it's going to last maybe 2 slots. I may run it twice. Joe, do you have anything that you're going to run?
Not currently.
Not currently. And DM,
I might surprise even myself. I have the week before
off,
and the week of off, and the week after.
Look at you, man. I do too. I got it all off too. It's great. So what about you guys? We're going to see some Horde Wars, right?
Yes.
Yeah. I'm planning to run, depending on what Nate's up for running, I'm planning to run 2 or 3 games of Horde Wars, and I'm hoping that Nate will do a couple as well.
Nice.
The idea being that way, if some of the guys try it out and enjoy it, that they can do like higher level characters maybe the last day.
Oh, okay, cool. Good night, Legion. He's heading out. See you,
Night,
bud.
Legion.
Yeah.
Bye.
That's cool. So what I kind of wanted to do here was I wanted to give, because at CabinCon, this is not a normal convention. It's 20 guys this year. We get together. We have a couple of cabins. We eat food. We roll dice. We have a good time. We're all buddies. And Nathan and DM Blackwall are going to get thrown in the mix in the deep end of the pond. So I wanted to throw out first, do you guys have any questions for me and Joe that maybe we could answer on air about CabinCon? I got a few of our CabinConners that have been on the chat tonight too.
We do have a lake there.
How's the fishing there?
So you could literally
I heard that part.
get thrown into the deep end.
You could.
Yeah.
We haven't. That hasn't happened yet. Dice get thrown in there, but
We're hoping. The dice have definitely. Oh, Patrick has a question for you guys. Will you want T-shirts? We generally have a T-shirt every year. It costs.
Oh yeah, that'd be cool.
Okay. Why don't you guys email me your sizes, and Patrick will make sure to have you one, and I can tell you the price in case it's you don't want to pay that much, but it's probably I don't know what it'll be. So, but yeah, they do, Patrick, for sure.
Yep.
So, cool. All right. Anyway, go ahead. Questions from you guys. What do you got for us? Anything?
How many of the play spaces are outside? Because the last time I did a gaming session over a weekend, it was very
You broke up there. I didn't hear
you
you.
went robot mode.
Oh, there, break up. Okay.
Yeah.
Sorry, something's here. No, just how many of the stations are outside for the nice sunny weather we're hoping to have versus indoors?
We don't have any spaces technically that are outside.
Okay.
Now you can when it's nice, you can play on the picnic tables.
Yep.
But everything else is either in a house. We got called the big house. Sleeps 11. We have the lunchroom, which is closed, and then the play spaces downstairs in the big house. What's that called? The game room. That's kind of a garage, but it's nice for play if it's not too cold. Yeah.
So,
and then do you guys typically have minis, maps, this kind of thing? Do people bring those, or is it typically just theater of the mind?
Both.
Yeah, the DM usually supplies that. Players don't usually bring their own minis if they're just going to play. So if you want to use minis, you probably want to have your own, and maps, anything else you want to bring along. Definitely want to bring that along with you.
Well, I was more asking the norm. We can bring stuff or not, either way.
Oh, yes. As a DM, I tend to bring a lot more stuff than I need. I bring minis. I bring maps. If I have terrain I want to use, I bring that. I tend to bring a lot of pre-gens. I suggest pre-gens for your games. I'm sure you're going to do that anyway. No one's going to know your game, but even games that we know, it's better to have pre-gens on hand because some have characters, some will not.
What's the game that's always proposed but no one has actually ran or played based on the whole mustering?
Oh, that's a good question. I'm thinking Martinson and Patrick might comment.
I don't know if there's any one trend. I don't think.
No, so your question is, when you muster, has there ever been a game that doesn't go? Is that what you're saying?
Or
unpopular game.
The unpopular game. The one's always suggested. Everyone's like, yeah, no.
I don't know. Patrick, come on.
It's okay.
He said anything run by him.
Yeah.
True. I don't know if I can't even think of a game. We've had games that people put games up and they don't go because here's one of the problems. So let's say we're all mustered, all 20 of us are in the room, and I'll say, who's running this slot? And I'll put down, let's say I get 6 or 7 games.
Mm-hmm.
They're not all going to go that slot, right?
Correct.
And it just kind of depends. My games tend to fill up. I'm not trying to brag, but they tend to.
That's the way it is.
It's the way it is.
It is.
But everybody else, I mean, guy John, who's not running this year, he's a workhorse. He's playing only, which is great because he's been running games. We have another guy, Jason. He's a workhorse. When he shows up, he has been able to make them all. He runs lots of games. So, I would say this: come ready to play and ready to run. So if your game doesn't go, and I hope it does, I mean, Joe and I are going to sign up for sure.
Yep.
Others here are talking about it. Patrick will play, I'm sure, and I'm sure Martinson's going to want to play. So, and that's just a few of us. Everybody else that doesn't watch the podcast, they'll be like, "Yeah, I'll try a new game. Sounds good." We love fantasy, so it'll go well.
There are times it can be like herding cats.
Yes. Oh my God.
I've done.
You know how gamers can be. What do you want to eat? Everybody says something different. So it can be, but that's usually like first morning.
Yeah,
can be that way because everybody's like, I don't know what I want to do, and then we can nudge people, and sometimes it nothing on the board gets done that's on the board. It ends up being other things. It can be that way.
Yeah, Larry Elliott posted he wants to play. He'll be there. Patrick is a fellow designer. He says he loves to take a look at new stuff.
Yep.
Awesome.
I'll say this year, Friday night, and I'm thinking, we're going to do a potluck. So plan on I don't know if we're going to have a theme or not. It might just be a bunch of random food. We are kind of, I wouldn't call us foodies. We're mostly fat guys. We like to eat. So
yeah, that's fair.
Go ahead.
That's a brand of foodie, I think.
Well, I was going to ask, when do you get started on Thursday typically? Like how soon are people there?
People get there. We'll roll in no later than 8. I'm usually there at 7:30, somewhere between 7:30 and 8. The first game slot is at 9 a.m. I will be running right at 9 a.m. I'm definitely one of the ones that
Okay.
And I'm posting it. So if you would like, I could post Horde Wars for the very first slot to let people know it's an option on the Facebook site if you would like that. But I don't know if you want to run right off the bat at 9 a.m.
No, that we would have to leave about 5 a.m.
What's that?
We would have to leave here about 5 a.m.
Okay, so you guys are going to want to just ease into it. That's all.
Probably. We'll think about it.
There's Thursday is usually some people get there early, and then people trickle in until like early afternoon.
Okay, because I'm eager to get over there, but I won't be driving for physical reasons.
Sure. But we'll definitely have people will be there. I mean, usually if I'm there, I haven't been first the last couple of years, so people are there waiting. I think some folks get there at 7. The lady that owns a place, we get along great with her, and so she's cool with us coming as early as possible. I'm sending the check-in this week, so it's pretty much all set. So it's pretty exciting.
Now this is a good idea.
Oh yeah, dude, that would be awesome.
Especially if somebody else is doing the cooking part.
Yeah.
If we can buy it prepared and just have it out on a table, that'd be great.
Yeah. And Patrick chimes in, and I welcome all the cabin conners to chime in. Some folks even just relax on day one. I mean, here it's a vacation for a lot of our guys. So, dude, you do what you want when you want to do it. And if you want to try to drum up a game, I bet dollars of donuts you'll get people to play.
Yep.
And you're gonna if not, get in one, jump in a game, get to meet the guys. I think you'll enjoy them. We got all types, so there's a lot of good dudes there.
Okay, so we have a volunteer to cook the pig. Now we need to have a volunteer to buy the pig.
I'm getting half a pig this month.
But you're not bringing it to Cabin Con.
I can't. It's going to be slaughtered already, so sorry.
That's fine. It can be slaughtered already. That's preferable. You bring it prepared.
I thought you want the whole pig on the spit, dude.
No,
old school.
You bring it, and then Martinson cooks it. But he'll be cooking it the whole weekend.
Oh, Crafting Gamer. Too bad my buddy wouldn't be interested in Cabin Con. I can send you his way. He's a professional cook. Oh, that would be so cool.
Yeah, that would be. Now, I actually should get going here in a moment. I just had a buddy come by, but I think Nate's still available for a little bit.
Okay. All right.
And,
well, it was great having you.
Yeah, I'm glad to be here. It's great talking with you guys. It's one, I'm excited to have you try my game. I'm looking forward to having it on your website. And then secondly, I'm excited to meet you in person. I think that'll be fun.
Oh, yeah. I look forward to see you too.
All right.
Yep.
Hey, great having you on. You have a good night.
See you, Dan Blackwall. All right. So anything else for us, Nathan, about Cabin Con, or anything you want to ask before we move on to the last little bit?
I think I'm pretty good. Because I think I asked you some off air that were answered. So
okay. Joe, is there anything you feel like we should prepare them for?
What do we need? Waking up to AC/DC?
It's a bunch of guys. I
Yeah.
think that's a bunch of guys who like to eat and play games. I don't think there's a whole lot.
No.
There's not much nuance there.
No, there's not.
We have some folks that like to speak their mind,
Yep.
and other folks that don't want to hear it. And we try to make sure that there's no clashes when it comes to that.
Right. All right, man. Well,
all right. So Big Geek Land.
Yep. Moving into that.
You want to talk about our potential other thing?
Yeah. So this is a different thing. This is not Cabin Con. This is Big Geek Con. Is going to be September 22nd, 23rd for sure. Let me share a little something here. I'm going to try to do a little presentation if I can. No, that's not it. How about this? No, Randy is having trouble finding his.
Are your computers? Are computer skills being challenged right now?
They are. Here's what I want to show: the address of where it's going to be. Here we go. I think, unless I'm wrong, and I'm never wrong. Let's see here. Where the poop is? Chrome tab. I can't find my. Oh, that's it. Share. Has lost permission to capture your screen. What is that?
Probably the host has it.
Okay, I don't know what the deal is. Anyway, it's I'll just read it. It is the Sheraton, 4 Points by Sheraton in Saginaw, Michigan. We are going to be setting up ticket prices this week. I'm paying for the room, and tickets will be going on sale. You will catch them on BGE. That's Big Geek Emporium. I do not have a price yet, but I'm going to go ahead and say what I'm shooting for. I'm shooting for $30. So that's not expensive. The hotel is going to offer up a king for $104 a night, which is discounted by $20, a double queen for $114. There is a Uno's attached to the place, so you can eat there. They talked about us catering. I don't think so, though my wife and a couple other ladies are talking about maybe having some desserts and things available for maybe purchase. maybe some for free. We'll figure it out. It's going to be, like I said, on a Friday, and I think that's a Friday and Saturday, I think. I may stick in a Sunday as well. I want to see what the numbers look like when I get there. It will be a one-time fee. So let me clarify that. Now this $30, let's say approximate. That's the plan. That's what I want to charge. But Joe and I, after the next week or so, we'll have to talk. I want to do $30. That would be for the whole weekend. You just show up, and then we would have games, and you would just join games as you will. I can't imagine it's going to be a huge event. I think we're going to be limited to the number of folks we can get, depending on the rooms that I get. They claim they can do 40 rooms, 40 people per room, but that could get really loud, depending on dividers. So I will look again at the space, make sure it's the case. But right now, if we get enough people to buy those tickets on Big Geek Emporium, which we'll announce when they go on sale, we get enough people to commit to that. It includes my friends too. Any of my friends that are listening, you can't go for free. Sorry, guys. Get those tickets. And if it turns out to be enough money, it'll happen. If not, we're going to refund the cash. Right, Joe?
Yep.
Yeah. So right now we're shooting for 30. But like I said, I got to see where the numbers land. I went to VentureCon last year, July of 2022 or June of 2022, and it was $100 a ticket, and it was a very small con, 27 people. I think we should get at least 40. I think we should. I think we can. I think we can supply 20-something. Hope we can get maybe Nathan and DM Blackwall, if they enjoy Cabin Con, they'll want to come join us for Big Geek Con too.
We can try.
I
know when I did something similar to this, I was able to get 40. So I have all the faith in you.
Well, thank you. If I get 40,
40 people is not really that many.
And 40 would work. I mean, that would be enough for us to cover our costs. 40 people, not 30 a day, 30 total, Patrick. That is 30 total. Yeah. Rejoice 85. That is a convention you could attend. That's right. Attend it.
Yep.
So that would be great, dude. One-time fee. Yeah. So, is that Rejoice 85 who I think that is? I think I know who that is. Do I know who that is, Patrick?
Is Rejoice 85 not able to attend Cabin Con because Rejoice 85 is the wrong gender?
Of which there are only
Could
two.
be. There are only two.
So I believe that's the case. You absolutely could. I would expect you there. I would be disappointed if you were not. So bring your family, bring your friends, bring your wives, bring your husbands, whatever the case may be. The rooms are per night. Yes. Patty's Parlor says, of course, the rooms are by night. Couldn't be too hard to split those two queens. Yeah. You could do all sorts of stuff. Yep. And extra donation stuff would be welcome. Yep. Patrick makes a claim. He may or may not know Rejoice 85. Oh, he gave it away. That's cool. So, yeah.
May.
I knew that was her. I didn't at first. And I was like, actually attend. Yeah, she's a hardcore gamer. She misses out on Cabin Con. It is males only there, Nathan. So we do not allow the more beautiful gender. We like just dudes. So, yeah, and it's about 11 miles from the MBS airport, 42 miles from the Flint airport, and 116 from Detroit. I won't make any promises, but I am going to offer something up about that if you have issues about getting from your airport to the hotel. But yeah, the $30.
The Detroit airport is going to have more flights in, but it's farther away.
Yeah, I would absolutely. If you're going to fly in, I would definitely go to either Flint. I would love you to do MBS, but MBS is a little more cash.
But it's more convenient. It's a lot closer than the other.
I can say right now, if we have 5, 6, 7 people that fly in to MBS, I would find a way to get you picked up and take you to the con. Randy would get you to your hotel. So I would find some way to do that. So you got a lot of friends that could probably help out, and they're reasonable folks. What does Bruce Lombardo say? Cabin Con is Alien 3. Big Geek Con is Aliens. Oh, dude, you don't know, sir. Big Geek Con's got a lot to live up to. Cabin Con's on year 17. So Yeah, it's legit. So it's awesome, good fun. So that's all I've got for Big Geek Comp. I think that's a lot. I wish Lady was here.
He'll catch us on the flip side, I think.
Larry's going to help out. Mr. Elliott said he'll do some transport from Flint or Saginaw. Look at that. He is helping out.
We can at least strap everybody down like a deer on people's cars if they can't fit inside. We'll make it work. There's trunks and stuff like that.
Game over, man. Game over. So, nice, Patrick. All right. You've talked about Big Geek Emporium, right, Joe?
Big Geek Emporium's having some coding issues. We're trying to squash all the bugs.
Squash those bugs.
Please be patient with us. Small crew.
Well, Nathan, it was really great having you tonight, buddy.
Yes.
Is there anything
glad
else?
to be here, so thank you for having us on.
Yeah, man.
Yes, it was great. It was fun.
I can't wait to see you in May. It's going to be awesome.
Yep.
All right.
Looking forward to it.
Cool. Well, why don't we get out of here? I'm going to give a little plug here. If you want to lend us, if you want to like or support the show, subscribe, share us where you're listening, viewing the show, etc. We're on all the socials, the video and podcast as well. PayPal, Streamlabs, Anchor, Ko-Fi, and of course now Patreon, which Joe and I still need to produce something for our
Patreon. We dropped the ball for March. We'll get March and April in April. How about that?
Double. Yeah, sounds good. Patty says, hold on before we leave. What's the best way to send you guys notes on BGE? And is there a note where the known issues are? Oh, okay.
I haven't set up a known issues thing. I should do that.
Oh, so we don't bug you about, he's talking about not bugging us. Yeah. Patty, you can't bug us, dude.
Twitter's good.
Yeah, Twitter's good. He says, do the tweetage. Anyway, our website, www.biggestgeekispodcast.com. Email thegeeks@biggestgeekispodcast.com. And, of course, Big Geek Emporium, biggeekemporium.com. Nathan, would you like to put a little quick plug in for Horde Wars where can they find anything out about it?
Not currently yet. But we believe in September it'll be up on Big Geek Emporium, hopefully. We're also going to be kind of demoing it / launching it softly at Grand Con beginning of September. Over on the east side.
Oh, Grand Con's at the beginning of September.
Yes.
We should go, Joe. One day.
We're hoping to have a booth and all that too. And
sweet.
Sessions rep.
We can buy your stuff. That'll be awesome. Cool,
Mm-hmm.
man. All right. Well, Joe, you ready to get out of here?
I am.
This is Randy.
And this is Joe.
Don't forget Nathan. And remember,
can't
be big like us. Be geeks like us. Good night, all.